Funny how life eventually puts everyone exactly where they belong. Ryan Whitmore said it without looking directly at Maya Bennett. That was what made it cruel. His champagne glass hovered near his mouth as soft laughter moved around the table, polished and restrained, the kind wealthy people used when they wanted to pretend they had not just witnessed someone being humiliated. Maya heard every word. She sat beneath the golden chandeliers of the Halston Grand Ballroom, surrounded by white roses, crystal glasses, and people whose watches cost more than the apartment she had once shared with Ryan. Beyond the windows, Manhattan glittered against the November darkness. Her place card rested beside her untouched champagne. Table 14. Ryan sat at table 1. Of course he did. And beside him sat Lauren Hayes. No, Lauren Whitmore now. Ryan's new wife. Lauren wore an ivory silk gown that caught the chandelier light whenever she moved. A diamond necklace rested against her throat. Her left hand remained casually visible on the table, the enormous wedding ring flashing whenever she reached for her glass. Maya noticed. She suspected she was supposed to. 20 minutes earlier, Ryan had crossed the ballroom with Lauren on his arm, passing 3 other tables just to stop beside Maya. Maya. His smile had been warm enough for strangers. Not for her. I wasn't sure you'd come. Maya had risen slowly. At 25, she had already learned that some people mistook silence for weakness because they had never survived anything quietly. Ryan. His eyes moved over her black dress. Simple. Elegant. No diamonds. No designer logo demanding attention. Then his hand settled possessively at Lauren's waist. I don't think you've met my wife. Lauren offered her hand. So nice to finally meet you. Finally. The word lingered. Maya shook it gently. Congratulations. Nothing more. For half a second, disappointment crossed Ryan's face. He had wanted something else. A tremble. A question. Perhaps one long look at Lauren's ring. Instead, Maya sat down again. Now Ryan was across the ballroom, performing happiness for an audience that did not know it was watching a performance. Maya lowered her eyes toward the empty chair beside her. There was no place card. Strange. Every other seat had been assigned. A waiter approached and quietly adjusted the untouched glass in front of it. Will someone be joining this table? Maya asked. The waiter hesitated. I believe so, ma'am. Who? Before he could answer, Ryan's voice carried from across the room. Some people spend years trying to get into rooms like this. Several guests turned. Ryan smiled toward a venture capitalist beside him, but his eyes finally found Maya. And some people never quite learn where they fit. Lauren lowered her face, hiding a smile behind her champagne. A woman near Maya suddenly became fascinated with her napkin. Another guest looked away. No one defended her. No one needed to. The silence was humiliating enough. Maya felt the old instinct rise inside her, the instinct to explain herself to the man she had once spent years helping become impressive. She let it pass. Then she lifted her water glass and took one quiet sip. Across the ballroom, Ryan leaned back with the satisfied expression of a man convinced the evening had already given him what he came for. Maya looked once more at the empty chair beside her. Outside the ballroom, somewhere beyond the closed double doors, footsteps crossed the marble corridor. Measured. Unhurried. Then Maya's phone illuminated against the white tablecloth. One message. She glanced down. Running late. Don't leave without me. Maya read it once. Locked the screen. And smiled. Not at Ryan. Not at Lauren. At the empty chair. There had been a time when Ryan Whitmore owned nothing expensive except his dreams, and Maya had paid for most of those. 3 years earlier, before the tailored suits and private dining rooms, their apartment had been 600 square feet above a laundromat in Brooklyn. The pipes complained every winter. The bedroom window never closed properly. At night, blue light from Ryan's laptop filled the room while Maya sat beside him correcting investor presentations he was too exhausted to finish. "You really think this can work?" he had asked one night. Maya remembered smiling. "I think you can make it work." Back then, Ryan used to look at her as though those words mattered. She worked mornings at a marketing agency and spent evenings helping him build Whitmore strategies. When his first investor meeting required a suit they could not afford, Maya quietly sold the gold bracelet her mother had given her for graduation. Ryan never knew. Or perhaps he had simply never asked. Success arrived slowly, then all at once. First came a real office. Then clients with recognizable names. Then invitations printed on heavy cream paper. Ryan changed with every room he entered. His shirts became sharper. His vocabulary became careful. He stopped ordering the cheapest wine and began correcting waiters who pronounced vineyard names differently than he did. At first, Maya found it amusing. Then he began correcting her. "Maybe don't tell that story tonight." "Why?" "It's just, not really the crowd for it." Later, it became her clothes. Her laugh. The way she spoke to servers as if they were people rather than furniture. At corporate dinners, Ryan's hand still rested against her back, but it no longer felt affectionate. It felt instructional. "Stand here. Smile now. Don't say too much." Maya noticed everything. She simply loved him longer than she should have. The end came on a rainy Tuesday. No screaming. No broken dishes. Ryan stood near their kitchen counter in a charcoal suit while rain traced crooked lines down the window behind him. "I think we want different lives." Maya stared at him. Only weeks earlier, she had spent 2 nights rebuilding the financial projections that helped secure his largest contract. "What life do you want?" Ryan looked toward the window instead of at her. "One that fits where I'm going." That sentence stayed with her longer than the divorce papers. He left with 2 suitcases. Maya remained in the apartment surrounded by objects that suddenly seemed embarrassed for her, the chipped coffee mugs, the framed wedding photograph, the cheap wooden desk where they had once planned a future together. That night, she removed her wedding ring. She placed it inside the kitchen drawer beside spare batteries and takeout menus. Nothing ceremonial. Nothing dramatic. Just metal touching wood. The next morning, Maya woke before sunrise. For several seconds, she forgot he was gone. Then she heard the laundromat machines beginning beneath the floor. She made coffee. Opened her laptop. And went to work. Back inside the Halston Grand Ballroom, Maya blinked as applause suddenly rose around her. The memory disappeared. Across the room, Ryan stood laughing beside Lauren, one hand resting comfortably around his new wife's waist. He looked successful now. Exactly as he had always wanted. Maya watched him for one quiet second. Then her gaze dropped toward the empty chair beside her. Ryan had spent years believing she had been part of the life he needed to escape. Tonight, he was about to discover something he had never considered. Maya had been building too. "Ryan told me a lot about you." Lauren's voice arrived before her perfume did. Maya looked up from her water glass. Lauren Whitmore stood beside table 14, one hand resting lightly against the back of the empty chair. Up close, she was even more polished than she had appeared across the ballroom. Ivory silk. Diamond earrings. Perfect blonde waves arranged to look effortless. Behind her, the orchestra played something slow and expensive. Maya gave a small smile. Did he? Oh, yes. Lauren glanced toward Ryan. He was speaking with two executives near the bar, but Maya noticed the way his eyes shifted toward them. He knew Lauren was there. Perhaps he had sent her. Lauren leaned closer. He told me those early years were difficult. Maya's fingers remained still around her glass. They were. I can imagine. Lauren's expression softened into something almost sympathetic. Then came the blade. He said he spent years carrying everything. For a moment, the ballroom seemed quieter. Maya saw a different room. A broken kitchen clock reading 2:17 a.m. Ryan asleep on their couch while she corrected his projections. An overdue electricity bill beneath her laptop. The empty velvet box where her mother's bracelet had once been. Carrying everything. Maya nearly smiled. Lauren continued, unaware, or pretending to be. He said sometimes people love each other, but one person grows faster than the other. There it was. Not an insult loud enough to confront. Something cleaner. More elegant. Cruelty dressed for dinner. A couple seated nearby had stopped talking. Maya could feel them listening. Lauren touched her necklace. I hope that doesn't sound insensitive. It doesn't. The answer seemed to disappoint her. Lauren tilted her head. You seem different from how Ryan described you. How did he describe me? For the first time, Lauren hesitated. Only briefly. Someone who preferred a smaller life. Across the room, Ryan was watching now. Maya met his eyes. He lifted his champagne glass slightly. A private toast. A reminder. He believed this was his room. His world. His victory. Maya turned back to Lauren. I did prefer something smaller. Lauren smiled. I knew it. Maya's gaze moved toward the glittering ballroom. I preferred a smaller ego. The woman at the next table lowered her glass to hide a smile. Lauren's expression tightened. Only for a second. Then she laughed softly. Well. Ryan always said you were funny. He used to. Lauren straightened. Her hand brushed the empty chair. Are you waiting for someone? Maya looked at it. Yes. Anyone we know? Probably. That answer landed differently. Lauren's smile faded at the edges. Before she could ask another question, Ryan appeared beside her. His hand settled at his wife's waist. There you are. He looked at Maya. Everything okay? Perfect, Maya said. Ryan studied her face as if searching for damage. He found none. A waiter approached carrying a silver tray. Mrs. Whitmore. Lauren turned. Ryan followed. Neither noticed the event coordinator hurrying toward Maya from the opposite side of the ballroom. The woman bent close. Ms. Bennett, there's been a change to tonight's announcement. Maya's expression sharpened. What changed? He wants you included. Maya glanced toward the ballroom doors. Still closed. And the board? They agreed. Across the room, Ryan was laughing again. Lauren whispered something into his ear. He looked happier than Maya had seen him in years. He had rewritten their marriage until he became the man who carried everything and Maya became the weight he survived. Tonight, he had brought his new wife to make sure Maya understood that version of the story. Maya looked at the empty chair. Then at the message still waiting on her phone. She turned the screen face down. Ryan could keep his version a little longer. The truth was already on its way. 3 years earlier, Maya Bennett learned that freedom did not arrive like fireworks. It arrived at 5:17 in the morning, carrying the smell of burnt coffee. Her new apartment was smaller than the one she had shared with Ryan. 1 bedroom. 2nd floor. A radiator that clicked through the night and a kitchen window facing a brick wall. There were no wedding photographs. No expensive furniture. No one telling her what kind of life she should want. Maya sat at a folding table with an old laptop, a yellow legal pad, and $17 left in her checking account after rent. On the screen was a spreadsheet belonging to Franklin & Sons Printing, a family business 48 hours from missing payroll. They could not afford a consultant. Maya could not afford to refuse them. So she made a deal. If I save you money, pay me from what I save. Mr. Franklin stared at her across his cluttered office. You sure about that? No. It was the first honest answer she had given anyone all week. He laughed. Then shook her hand. For 6 days, Maya barely slept. She studied invoices on the subway. Ate sandwiches over financial statements. Called suppliers during lunch breaks at her day job and rebuilt operating costs after midnight. The solution was not glamorous. Renegotiate 2 contracts. Cancel a useless lease. Restructure deliveries. Protect payroll. Friday morning, Mr. Franklin called her. We made it. Maya stood alone beside a coffee cart on Fulton Street while commuters rushed around her. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she closed her eyes. Not because the money mattered. Because something she had done without Ryan had worked. That became the beginning. 1 client became 3. 3 became 9. Maya left her agency job 8 months later. She rented a narrow office with peeling paint and 1 window overlooking an alley. She bought the desk secondhand and carried it upstairs herself because delivery cost $75. On winter mornings, she arrived before sunrise. On summer nights, she sometimes left after midnight. Her hands smelled of coffee and printer ink. Her heels lived beneath the desk because she preferred working barefoot. She stopped checking Ryan's social media. Stopped wondering whether Lauren had already been there. Stopped rehearsing conversations that would never happen. Then companies began calling her. Not because she was Ryan Whitmore's ex-wife. Because someone had heard about the woman who could walk into a dying business, find what everyone else had missed, and leave the people inside it with their jobs. 2 years after the divorce, Bennett Advisory occupied an entire floor. Maya kept the old folding table in storage. She never explained why. One afternoon, her assistant placed a black folder on her desk. Someone from Cole Capital called again. Maya continued reading. I already said no. He knows. That made her look up. He wants 20 minutes. For what? He wouldn't say. Maya leaned back. Cole Capital did not chase small consulting firms. And Adrian Cole did not chase anyone. At least, that was what every financial magazine claimed. Maya opened the folder. A photograph stared back at her. Adrian Cole. Billionaire investor. 34. Private. Unpredictable. Below his photograph sat a handwritten note. Not an offer. Not a number. Just 1 sentence. I don't want to buy your company. I want to understand how you saved theirs. Maya read it twice. Then reached for her phone. Back in the ballroom, the orchestra changed songs. Maya returned to the present with her fingers resting against the stem of her glass. Across the room, Ryan was still smiling. He thought he knew what happened after he left her. He knew nothing. Adrian Cole was 20 minutes late to their first meeting, and Maya had already decided she disliked him. Not because he was late. Because everyone else seemed terrified that he was. The receptionist apologized 3 times. An assistant replaced Maya's coffee twice. Somewhere behind the smoke-glass doors of Cole Capital, people moved faster whenever Adrian's name was spoken. Maya simply kept reading. When the conference room door finally opened, Adrian entered without an entourage. Tall. Dark suit. No tie. Calm eyes. "I owe you 20 minutes. Maya closed the folder. "You do." His assistant froze. Adrian smiled. Not offended. Interested. He sat across from her. "I read your Franklin restructuring. That was 3 years ago." "I know. You brought me here to discuss a printing company." "I brought you here because everyone else wanted to close it." Maya said nothing. Adrian slid a file across the table. Inside were photographs of a manufacturing plant in Newark, financial statements, payroll reports, and a red number circled at the bottom. 212 employees. "The board wants to liquidate," he said. "And you?" "I want to know what you see." Maya studied the numbers. 10 minutes passed. Adrian never interrupted. Finally, she looked up. "You don't have a labor problem." His eyebrow lifted. "You have a supplier problem pretending to be a labor problem." She turned the document toward him and pointed to 3 contracts. "Renegotiate these, consolidate distribution, and stop paying executives bonuses while asking hourly workers to absorb the loss." His expression changed. "Barely. And if that doesn't work? Then you come back to me." "Why?" "Because firing 200 people should be the last intelligent idea in the room, not the first convenient one." Adrian leaned back. "Most consultants would cut payroll. Most consultants don't have to look those families in the eye. They're numbers on a spreadsheet." Maya closed the file. "No. Numbers don't go home to families. People do." Silence settled between them. Adrian looked at her differently after that. Not warmly. Not romantically. With respect. The plant survived. So did all 212 jobs. 3 months later, Adrian offered to buy Bennett Advisory. Maya read the number once. Then pushed the contract back. "No." His attorney nearly dropped his pen. Adrian stared at her. "No. I built something that belongs to me. Everything has a price. Maybe everything you own." That time, Adrian laughed. Their relationship changed slowly after that. Coffee became dinners after meetings. Dinners became conversations that had nothing to do with balance sheets. Adrian learned Maya hated roses but loved old bookstores. Maya learned he loosened his watch whenever he was nervous, though almost no one believed Adrian Cole could be nervous. He never asked her to become smaller. Never corrected her laugh. Never introduced her by explaining who she belonged to. And when he finally kissed her outside a restaurant in Soho, he asked first. Maya remembered thinking how strange respect felt after years of mistaking permission for love. Months later, Adrian offered her something more valuable than his money. A seat beside him. Not behind him. Beside him. Back at the Halston Grand, Maya's phone vibrated. Another message. 5 minutes. She looked toward the ballroom entrance. Across the room, Ryan was shaking hands with a banker while Lauren held his arm. Ryan had once believed Maya needed him to enter rooms like this. He still believed it. What he did not know was that the most powerful man expected through those doors tonight was not coming to rescue Maya. He was coming because Maya had already earned the right to stand beside him. The invitation had arrived 6 weeks earlier in an envelope too elegant to ignore. Maya found it waiting on her desk beneath a stack of acquisition reports. Halston Foundation Annual Gala. She almost placed it in the trash. Then she saw the guest committee. Ryan Whitmore. For several seconds, Maya stared at the name. Nothing inside her broke. That surprised her. Once, seeing those letters on a screen could ruin an afternoon. Now they looked like what they were. A name. Her phone rang. Adrian. You received it. You knew Ryan would be there. I knew his company was invited. Maya leaned back. And you didn't mention it. I wanted you to decide without me deciding for you. She smiled despite herself. I hate when you're reasonable. I've been told. Then his voice changed. There's another reason I need you there. Maya looked toward the black folder on her desk. The proposed acquisition had consumed 6 weeks of her life. Hundreds of pages. Meetings behind closed doors. Financial models built after midnight. The target company remained unnamed publicly. For now. The board approved the next stage, she asked. This morning. And the announcement? At the gala. Maya became still. Adrian continued. They want you included. Why? Because you're leading the evaluation. Maya looked again at Ryan's name. The irony was almost too precise. Does he know? No. Good. That evening, Maya stood before her bedroom mirror wearing the black dress she had bought 2 years earlier with her first significant consulting fee. No stylist. No transformation. No attempt to become someone Ryan might regret losing. She pinned one gold earring into place. Then the other. Her reflection looked calm. That mattered more than beautiful. Adrian arrived downstairs but did not come up. He knew she preferred entering important rooms on her own. His message appeared instead. Car is waiting. I'll meet you there after the board dinner. Maya picked up her clutch. Before leaving, she opened the bottom drawer of her dresser. Inside sat a small velvet box. The old wedding ring. She had forgotten to throw it away. Maya lifted the box, considered it, then closed the drawer. Some things did not deserve ceremony. Now, hours later, the gala moved toward its main presentation. A subtle change passed through the ballroom. Staff adjusted microphones. Board members disappeared behind velvet curtains. The event coordinator crossed the floor twice, speaking urgently into her headset. Ryan noticed. Maya saw him straighten his jacket. Lauren whispered something. Ryan smiled. Of course. He thought the evening was turning toward him. Whitmore Strategies had spent months trying to attract outside capital. Ryan had mentioned it loudly enough during cocktails for half the ballroom to hear. What he did not know was that Cole Capital had already examined his company. Every contract. Every liability. Every executive decision. And Maya had read every page. The event coordinator returned to her table. Ms. Bennett, Mr. Cole asked me to confirm you're comfortable with the announcement. Maya glanced toward Ryan. He was laughing beneath the chandeliers, one hand around Lauren's waist. Comfortable. Interesting word. Yes, Maya said. The coordinator nodded and disappeared. A microphone sounded from the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our special announcement shortly. Conversation softened. Ryan looked toward the entrance. So did several investors. Everyone in the room knew who was expected. Adrian Cole. Maya looked at the empty chair beside her. For the first time that evening, she understood why it had no place card. It had never been empty by accident. And neither had her invitation. Ryan made his mistake 11 minutes before Adrian Cole arrived. The orchestra had softened. Waiters moved between tables collecting empty glasses while guests turned toward the stage, expecting the evening's announcement. Ryan should have waited. Instead, he saw Maya sitting alone. And mistook patience for defeat. He crossed the ballroom with Lauren beside him, stopping where several investors had gathered near Maya's table. Maya. She looked up. Ryan smiled. You're still here. The words sounded harmless. His tone was not. I am. Lauren glanced at the empty chair beside Maya. Your guest still hasn't arrived. Not yet. Ryan gave a quiet laugh. Something inside him relaxed. For the first time that evening, Maya understood what he had been waiting for. He wanted her alone. Not merely divorced. Not merely seated far from him. Alone. Because then the story worked. Ryan had moved forward. Maya had not. One of the investors beside him asked how they knew each other. Ryan answered before Maya could. We were married. The man blinked. Oh. A long time ago, Ryan added. 3 years. Maya said nothing. Ryan slipped one hand into his pocket. We started with very little. Those were difficult years. Lauren touched his arm. But look at you now. Ryan smiled. The investor nodded politely. Then Ryan looked directly at Maya. Some people need someone else pushing them before they really become anything. There it was. The insult was soft enough to deny later. Loud enough to be heard now. Conversation around them thinned. Maya felt the familiar pressure behind her ribs. Years ago, she would have defended herself. She would have listed the nights. The contracts. The sacrifices. She would have tried to make Ryan remember the truth. Now she only placed her glass on the table. Carefully. You're right about one thing. Ryan's smile widened. What's that? Those years were difficult. A nearby guest lowered his eyes. Ryan waited for more. Maya gave him nothing. Lauren stepped closer. Well, everyone ends up where they're supposed to eventually. Maya looked at her. Then at Ryan. Eventually. One word. Quiet. Certain. Ryan's expression tightened. Before he could answer, movement near the entrance pulled attention away from them. 2 members of the foundation board hurried across the ballroom. A security officer opened one of the tall double doors. Someone near the stage whispered a name. Cole. The change in Ryan was immediate. His shoulders straightened. His hand left his pocket. The cruelty disappeared from his face and was replaced by something Maya recognized instantly. Ambition. Is he here? Lauren whispered. Ryan checked his jacket. He's supposed to be. For months, Whitmore Strategies had tried to secure a meeting with Cole Capital. Emails. Introductions. Private dinners. Nothing. Ryan had once told an associate that 5 minutes with Adrian Cole could change the future of his company. Now he abandoned Maya in the middle of his own humiliation. Excuse me. He turned toward the entrance. Maya almost laughed. The man who had just suggested she needed someone powerful to become something was suddenly crossing a ballroom hoping a powerful man would notice him. Lauren hurried after him. The crowd shifted. Phones disappeared into pockets. Conversation stopped. Maya remained seated. The empty chair beside her waited. Then the ballroom doors opened completely. A tall figure appeared beyond them, framed by the white marble corridor. Adrian Cole. Ryan moved first. He walked toward the billionaire with his brightest smile and his hand already extended. Maya watched from across the room. Adrian entered beneath the chandeliers. His eyes passed over the board members. The investors. Ryan. Then they found Maya. And stopped. Ryan reached Adrian first. Mr. Cole. His hand was already extended. Ryan Whitmore. Whitmore Strategies. We've been trying to arrange a meeting for months. Adrian stopped beneath the chandelier. His gaze dropped briefly to Ryan's hand. Then returned to his face. I know who you are. Ryan's smile brightened. Lauren appeared beside him, radiant again. We're honored you're here. Adrian gave a polite nod. Around them, conversations had quieted. Board members moved closer. Investors watched with the careful interest of people who understood that money often changed direction in rooms like this. Ryan lowered his voice. I'd love 5 minutes tonight. I think there's a real opportunity between our companies. Adrian glanced past him. Toward Maya. Actually, he said, you're the reason I'm here. Ryan froze. Only for a heartbeat. Then satisfaction spread across his face. Maya saw it from table 14. He thought he had won. Ryan adjusted his cuff. I had a feeling Cole Capital might finally be ready to talk. We are. Lauren touched Ryan's arm. His victory lasted exactly 3 seconds. But the decision isn't mine. Ryan blinked. I'm sorry. Adrian stepped around him. The crowd parted naturally. He crossed the ballroom without hurry, walking past executives who had spent the evening trying to earn his attention. He stopped beside Maya. The empty chair waited between them. Sorry I'm late. Maya looked up. You owe me 11 minutes. A few people nearby laughed uncertainly. Adrian smiled. I'll repay them. Then he pulled out the empty chair and sat beside her. Across the ballroom, Ryan's face changed. Not shock yet. Confusion. The foundation chairman approached the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The lights softened. A screen illuminated behind him. Tonight, Cole Capital is announcing the final evaluation stage of a major strategic acquisition. Ryan stared at the screen. Whitmore Strategies. Lauren inhaled. Applause erupted. Ryan's confusion disappeared beneath pure triumph. He turned toward Maya. For one terrible second, his expression almost thanked her for being there to witness it. Then the chairman continued. The evaluation has been led by one of the most respected turnaround strategists we've had the privilege of working with. A photograph appeared. Maya Bennett. The applause changed. Ryan did not move. Lauren's hand slowly slipped from his arm. The chairman smiled toward table 14. Ms. Bennett has spent 6 weeks reviewing the proposed transaction and will deliver the final strategic recommendation to Cole Capital's board. Silence swallowed Ryan's table. He looked at Adrian. Then Maya. Then the screen. No, he whispered. Adrian heard him. Something wrong. Ryan's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Adrian leaned back slightly. You wanted 5 minutes with me. Ryan swallowed. Yes. You don't need them. Adrian nodded toward Maya. You need them with her. The words landed harder than any insult Maya could have returned earlier. Ryan stared across the ballroom at the woman he had described as someone who needed others to become something. The woman he had seated at table 14. The woman his new wife had politely pitied. Maya met his eyes. She did not smile. That was what unsettled him most. There was no revenge in her expression. No satisfaction. Only composure. Ryan had spent the entire evening believing Adrian Cole would be the most powerful person Maya could possibly know. He still did not understand. The billionaire had arrived. But the billionaire was not the twist. Maya was. Ryan found Maya after the applause ended. Not in the ballroom. In the private conference room behind the stage, where the music became a distant vibration through closed doors. A black folder rested between them. Whitmore Strategies. Ryan stared at it as though it belonged to someone else. Lauren had remained outside. Adrian too. This conversation did not need witnesses. So this is revenge. Maya looked up. Ryan stood across the table, his bow tie loosened, the confidence from earlier stripped from his face. No. You expect me to believe that? I don't need you to believe anything. Ryan laughed once, without humor. You spent 6 weeks investigating my company and never told me. I spent 6 weeks doing my job. You could destroy everything I built. Maya's eyes lowered to the folder. Everything I built. Some habits survived longer than marriages. She opened it. Ryan's shoulders tightened. The acquisition moves forward. Silence. He stared at her. What? Cole Capital gets my recommendation to proceed. Ryan slowly sat down. Relief crossed his face first. Then suspicion. Why? Maya turned several pages toward him. Because the company is viable. She tapped one paragraph. But these executive compensation protections disappear. Another page. Employee severance becomes guaranteed. Another. An operational authority will require independent oversight during restructuring. Ryan's jaw hardened. You're taking control away from me. No. I'm preventing you from protecting yourself before the people who built the company. His eyes lifted sharply. The sentence found its target. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Ryan looked toward the glass wall separating them from the ballroom. Adrian stood outside, speaking with a board member. You're with him. Maya followed his gaze. Yes. Ryan swallowed. How long? Long enough. A bitter smile touched his mouth. So that's it. You found someone richer. Maya almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Even now, he needed the story to be about a man. She closed the folder. I found myself first. Ryan looked at her. Something in his expression finally broke. Not jealousy. Recognition. He remembered the apartment. The presentations. The woman beside him before anyone returned his calls. Why didn't you tell me who you'd become? Maya stood. You knew me before I became any of this. Her voice remained quiet. That was supposed to be enough. Ryan lowered his eyes. After a moment, he asked the question she had never expected. After everything I did, why didn't you destroy me? Maya picked up her clutch. Because becoming you was never part of my comeback. Then she walked out. Adrian waited in the hallway. He did not ask whether Ryan apologized. He did not ask whether she was okay. He simply held out his hand. Maya looked at it. Then took it. Together they entered the ballroom. Golden light spilled across the marble floor. The orchestra began again. Conversations returned slowly around them. Behind the glass, Ryan remained seated alone. Lauren stood several feet away, watching him through the door. For the first time that evening, no one was watching Maya with pity. But she did not need their admiration either. She had stopped living for other people's verdicts years ago. Adrian squeezed her hand. Ready? Maya looked toward the open ballroom doors. Yes. And she walked forward without looking back. Ryan had brought his new wife to show Maya what she had lost. Instead, he watched the woman he had discarded walk into a life he could no longer define for her. She hadn't won him back. She had won herself.